By now, you all know how important it is for us here at the MeidasTouch Network to have dialogue and just decent conversations with mainstream Republicans, mainstream conservatives who may at one point believe they supported Trump, may have voted for Trump. But as Donald Trump revealed who he is, it's become clear that he's not really a Republican. He's not conservative at all, nor is this MAGA movement. And so I want to bring in someone by the name of David Hale as we continue our kind of outreach to people who may have been sympathetic to what Trump was at least saying back in 2016. David Hale is 25 years old. He hails from Atlanta, Georgia. David was too young to vote in the 2016 election, but says that probably would have voted for Trump in 2016. In 2020, as it became clear that Donald Trump was not going to accept the results of the election, that was a glaring red flag. So you voted for President Biden, but cast your other votes for Republicans in Georgia. And in this cycle, at first you were supportive of DeSantis when it was clear he wasn't going to be able to win. You were a Nikki Haley voter. And now that DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and essentially anyone who is not MAGA is out, and Donald Trump and the MAGA party have clearly taken this over, you've said you're going to be voting for President Biden. So I hope I got the summary of it correct pretty much there. And you've been in politics since you were 13 years old, kind of grew up in the Obama-Romney race. And so just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on kind of right now, where we stand, why it is you're voting for President Biden, your rejection of kind of Trump and MAGA, and just wanted to hear from you.
Absolutely. And yes, that was a perfect summary of my experience. As for this race, I truly am not considering policy. I am not looking at, all the various things that a lot of MAGA folks tell me to look at, the gas prices and the border and all of those things. And they're all incredibly important. At the same time, I think preserving our democracy, making sure that we have a functioning country that can propagate in the future is the most important thing. And so stopping the man who wants to terminate the Constitution or who at least says he does and will try to, and of course admires foreign dictators and all these things. We're just in a really, really unique spot in American history. I think this is obviously the most important election in the country's history. And so for me, it's not easy. It's not fun. I don't like voting for Joe Biden. To be quite honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of many of his policies. At the same time, he is a person, he is sane, he is stable, and he will not try to eliminate the democratic norms that have made this country so great.
One of the things that President Biden has been criticized for by the media is focusing so heavily on the pro-democracy aspect of what this race is about. And people are saying, focusing on democracy, that's January 6th was so long ago. What we need to focus on are other things. But obviously for you, you're saying one of the things that resonates the most is, as a conservative Republican, it's clear to you that democracy is on the line, and you and I and others in the future may be able to get back into having normal debates over policy in a respectful way. But this is not a normal election. This is for the survival of our country as a democracy where we have free elections.
Right. Absolutely. And I think in large part that dismissiveness of the democracy issue comes from people we have not experienced that in this country. We have not experienced threats to our democratic norms and institutions in this way. And so I think people have this assumption that, it's always worked out in the past. It'll just kind of through inertia continue to work out in the future. And in reality, of course, you need people to step up and make their voices heard and say, no, actually, this is a moment where we need to make a decision. We have a choice in front of us, a person who says he just plain old doesn't accept election results, doesn't believe in the Constitution. And we have a person who does not say that and who says the opposite. And so kind of part of what I do in my small little voice on social media, I like to, try to raise that alarm bell, because I think we become so numb to it, but it is truly the key in this election, for sure.
There are, not an exaggeration, tens of thousands, perhaps bordering on hundreds of thousands of comments that I receive from people who are just like you, people who are either independents, people who consider themselves Reagan Republicans or mainstream Republicans or classic Republicans, people who are veterans, people who have been Republican their entire life, their whole identity was wrapped up in it. So it was hard for them to say, well, here's where I'm going right now. But I've gotten so many of those. And yes, to some extent, it's anecdotal, right? As the comments that I'm getting, it's not like I can extrapolate, but there's so many that it was clear to me that there's an emerging trend that I think we're seeing actually show in the primary data with the kind of 20 to 25% protest vote against Donald Trump or the Nikki Haley vote. Are there more David Hales out there? Like in your circle and your friends and your people, real human beings out there that you speak to who share this sentiment, and how big do you think that actually is? Is it being underestimated by the media right now?
Yeah, I certainly think it is being underestimated. I think that the loudest voices take up all the oxygen in the room, and people feel as if they have to, okay, well, I guess these are the choices I have. I have to make one decision or the other, join Biden or join Trump. And my view, of course, is that that's not the case. And I experience this all the time. I have tons of people who interact with me on social media space. So many people who say, you're thinking, or you're saying exactly what I'm thinking. I want traditional Reagan conservatism. I want small government. I want a strong military. I want lower taxes. I want family values. I want all these classic traditional conservative things, but I don't want absolute lunacy combined with potential political violence, all to serve, my view, a cult leader who has indomitable hold over his followers. Now, of course, you noted Nikki Haley in her campaign. I was a strong supporter, and I do think her campaign was a great indicator of that. And when we continued to see her, rack up more than 20% in states after she had already been dropped out of the race for several months, I think many, many millions of Americans are trying to say, we want a different path. We do not like where we are right now with President Biden, but we definitely don't like this alternative that we have in Donald Trump. And so I certainly think it's being underestimated. And there are many, many millions of Americans who think like I do.
Yeah, because look, I long for the day where David, you and we may disagree on issues or approach or tax policy or funding this versus funding that. And you and I can sit down the way we're talking right now at this tone, have a conversation. Maybe we agree to disagree. Maybe we can reach a compromise. Hey, can we just do this and try this out? I'll concede over here. I agree these issues are really important when it comes to immigration. Like, hey, James Langford, the most conservative Republican in the Senate, leading the charge on an immigration bill that would have made a difference. And maybe that was not the ideal resolution that some conservatives would have wanted, but it would have been beneficial to Americans. But to see the nihilism of MAGA say, you know what? We want to hurt this country, because if the country feels pain, then we can blame it on people. Like, that aspect is such a foreign and kind of traitorous concept to me, that there's people who want to inflict pain on us when you and I should just be able to say, look, I disagree with you there, David, but can we agree here? All right, let's make a deal and let's move on to the next. That's, to me, what politics should be about.
Right, absolutely. And, it's so disheartening and really sad to see, when you see former President Trump, and he boasts and he says, I want you to blame it on me. When this fails, blame it on me. This is what I did. And it's just, that is not a way to have a functioning country, to put it plainly. That is not a way to have a country with longevity for its future. That is just obviously a completely tribalistic, nihilistic, self-centered approach that does nothing to serve the country, and honestly doesn't even do much to serve the party. I mean, and that's just kind of to step it back a little bit. That's, I think, the worst thing about the Trump era is that I think he's both an electoral disaster and a moral disaster. So it's like we've sold our soul for no reason, and I just not a fit.
When you were following politics at the age of 13 and you saw races like Obama versus Romney, you may have felt very strongly about the candidates, but I doubt that you felt that there was an individual who was going to actually actively support our enemies to cause harm. And I think we recognize those were both men, people of moral character and decency who were having these discussions. And like now, you know, you grew up a conservative Republican, and now to see what the conservative Republican is supposed to look like, or really the MAGAs who took it over. It's like this, like Congressman Troy Nehls, who's posting photos like this of himself wearing fake gold Trump $400 sneakers with fake red soles, with Donald Trump's face on his tie, smoking a cigar in his congressional office, saying, other than faith and family, the only hope that we have is President Donald Trump. I mean, that's a leader in the Republican Party. Or this photo right here of Don Jr. holding a rattlesnake or something that looks like a rattlesnake on a train track. And Trump saying, my son Don has absolutely no fear, not even a vicious rattlesnake. Or the fact that you have Trump's lawyer and one of the major spokespersons of the campaign meeting with the MAGA rapper, and they hang out all the time and they wear fake gold chains with Donald Trump's face on it. Or Donald Trump's, I keep going on, David, Donald Trump selling a Donald Trump Bible that actually eliminates certain portions of the Constitution he doesn't like and includes the Constitution with the Bible. Or Donald Trump selling the American flag with his name Trump on it for $1,000, imprinting the name Trump on our great flag. Or Donald Trump posting photos with, I keep going, with Jesus on his shoulder. I mean, this is not normal stuff. Like, this is not normal stuff. And when the media tries to act like this is a normal race of, you got Democrats and you got Republicans, what do you say to them?
You are absolutely right. This is not a normal race, and to see, the tragic, I would say, decline of the conservative mindset towards how we view government and how we view our leaders. You know, in the past, it's supposed to be, well, no, we don't look to government for our hope. We don't look to government for our answer. It's supposed to be the people of America. It's all of us coming together and working together for the common good and to try to enact the policies we want to see. And now, 80+% of the Republican Party follows the guy who says, I alone can fix it. I am the chosen one, as he likes to say. So it is truly disheartening. And I think one of the most troublesome aspects is that blending of religion with politics, to where people, they think that they're following their religion, when in reality, they're putting their politics ahead of it and then making their religion conform. It's easy to put Jesus in a box when he's not talking to you directly and telling you, no, sorry, actually, I don't want you to support the adulterer who, cheated on his wife with a wife was pregnant with their son. It's just absolutely crazy. And we are not at a normal time. This is not a normal election. People need to wake up. And so doing my small part to help.
So finally, David, what do you say to people out there who are Republican, are conservative, people who are watching this right now, who have a similar story with you, but whether it's a family connection, a church connection, some other strong pull, they just don't know what to do? What's your message to them?
Yeah, my message is, do not let yourself be bullied into thinking that you have to pull the lever for a man that you are not comfortable pulling the lever for. My opinion, the best thing that can happen for the Republican Party, for conservatism, and obviously I think for America itself, is for us to rid this party of the man and of this ideology, which has completely infected the party and turned it away from the principles that it has always stood for. And so if you think that you have to vote for him out of loyalty, you don't. He does not deserve your loyalty. He has never shown loyalty to anybody else. He loves to throw everybody under the bus, even the people he hires and calls the best. He calls them, idiots 2 months later. So you do not owe him your loyalty. vote your conscience. My recommendation, I happen, of course, live in Georgia, the closest swing state in 2020. I'm going to be voting for President Biden because democracy is truly on the line here. If you live in a state that's safe and you just can't pull the lever for Biden, leave it blank, write in a name, do whatever you need to do, but you do not owe Donald Trump your vote.
David Hale, thank you so much for joining us. And we'd love to hear your stories in the comments below as well, if they are similar to David's or if you know people who have similar stories to David. David Hale, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Ben. Really appreciate it.
Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers. Thanks to your support and have a great day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.